Why do so many people choose to rent an apartment over buying a house? For one, it's cheaper short-term. 2, it's easier and more flexible if you need to move, especially with many lifestyle changes. And 3, you don't have to pay any rates or levies, only rental fees. It's the same argument for container leasing. Container leasing is when a company rents out their containers to a shipping line or freight forwarder, and it's a huge industry. In fact, 50% of the global container fleet is owned by leasing companies. Container leasing is a popular choice because of one main thing: flexibility. Instead of being bogged down with a couple 40 feet high cube containers and constantly paying storage and maintenance fees on them, you can lease a variety of containers for your ever-changing needs. Depending on your lease, you can even avoid storage fees altogether. You can also avoid fees like demurrage and detention, but we'll get to those a little later. For now, let's look at the 4 main types of container leasing. Master lease. Master lease agreements provide a lot of flexibility. They come with a long list of permitted pickup and drop-off locations. Container quantity is also flexible for the leasee. Master leases are costly, but as a benefit to their high cost, the leasing companies take on the burden of storage costs, maintenance, and repositioning. You'd only have to pay hefty fines if you send your containers to locations off their list, if the ports even accept them, of course. Long-term lease. Less flexible but more cost-effective, a long-term lease is signed for a fixed amount of time, usually between 5 and 8 years. You also sign for a fixed amount of containers and a fixed delivery schedule. The huge advantage is the fixed price for a long time, meaning that if the market changes, your financial planability stays high. The containers on this lease are normally brand new, so the leasee is responsible for maintaining, storing, and repairing them. Short-term lease. A short-term lease is signed for less than 6 months. The rates are high, and you must also pay for maintenance and repair. This lease makes sense if you need containers for a round trip or short period of time. While these 3 options are popular, neither of them solves a persistent issue for the shipping industry: the fact that every 3rd container traveling today is moved empty. That's right. After a container has reached its destination and its cargo is unloaded, there's a 33.3% chance it will travel back to its origin without cargo. This is why the next lease is one of the most forward-thinking solutions and flexible options available, not only for the shipping industry, but also for the environment. One-way lease. One-way lease agreements are the future. If a long or short-term lease is like renting an apartment, a one-way lease is like staying in a bed and breakfast. By renting a container for a one-way move, you have the most flexibility. You get to select your drop-off location and negotiate terms like duration, price, and free days. This is because the container would have traveled empty anyway, so if you rent out the container, you're helping the lessor reposition their containers to a high-demand location at no cost to them. It's a win-win. Remember those demurrage and detention charges we mentioned earlier? It's through one-way leasing that you're able to avoid them completely. If your long-term or short-term container spends more time inside a terminal than agreed upon, for any reason, you'll need to pay demurrage charges. If your container spends more time outside of the terminal, you'll need to pay detention fees. These fees can add up quickly, sometimes even hundreds of dollars a day. By renting a container for a one-way move, you're not obligated to move or return the containers to the carrier within a certain time frame. You can also avoid these charges by using shipper-owned containers or buying your own containers. Due to the nature of world economics and trade imbalances, there are always container volume imbalances. It's becoming more and more popular for companies not to put all their eggs in one basket, and rather own containers, lease containers long-term, and then employ one-way moves to maximize their opportunities. But how do people find these empty one-way containers to use to their advantage? Enter xChange, the world's first online platform that connects businesses with leasing companies they wouldn't otherwise have access to. Simply plug in your pickup and drop-off locations, and you can choose from a variety of containers, prices, and vetted companies for one-way moves. Chat directly to your partner online to negotiate terms and set up a transaction with ease. On xChange, there are so many opportunities to earn and save money, and so many containers to get your hands on. If you want to learn more, subscribe to our channel below.